Hey everyone! In this video I'm going to be reviewing the Stafford Gambit. I hope you enjoy and let's get started. So, in the Stafford Gambit, black is the one actually using and attacking with the Stafford Gambit. So, for it to work, white plays e4, black responds with e5, knight f3, knight f6, knight e5, knight c6, and if he takes the knight, then the Stafford Gambit starts. You can see on the bottom, Russian game, Stafford Gambit. Then let's say they go knight c3, just a casual developing move. In almost all Stafford Gambit lines, you would go bishop c5 with not only putting pressure on the f pawn on white's f pawn, also if white ever castles in the future and the king is going to be on g1, the f pawn is going to be pinned to the king. Then let's say they, I don't know, go bishop c4 trying to develop. Then we go knight g4, and black's already winning. The only way to defend the pawn without losing the game fully is with the rook f1, but then we still get a pawn. And there's a big chance that white will be like, oh, I don't have to restrict my castle rights. I can just castle right now, and the rook and king will still be defending the pawn. But then we just go queen h4, which threatens mate on h2 in 1. And if they try to kick it away and stopping mate, we just take with knight. Then white is forced to take with rook, because otherwise if he tries to get out of the pin, we take the queen. We take the queen, and if, oh my god, it keeps happening. We take the queen, and if he tries to move the queen away, then we have mate in a few. So the best move is to take with rook. We take with bishop. If right here, we just checkmate in a couple, and if right here, we don't have forced mate, but we don't have to, because we're already winning a piece. We already won a piece. Then if they try to go right here defending, there's a lot of different options. I prefer to go bishop e6 just to ask for the bishop trade. And if he does take, then I threaten rook f8, pinning it, which is just a nice attack. And we also ask for the bishop trade, which is really good for us because we're ahead material. Then let's say they go bishop e2 in this position. Then what we do is pawn h5, and again, let's say they castle. Then we go right here, and we're already threatening queen h4, which we just talked about. So if white notices that, and we're already putting pressure on the f2 pawn, so white will most likely want to go pawn h3, trying to kick the knight away. But if he does, then we go queen d6, and we're just winning here, because if pawn on g3 trying to defend the mate, we just take with queen and we mate in a few, and he can't take back with pawn because the pawn's pinned to the king. And after right here, he also can't move pawn to f4 because it's pinned to the king. So we're just completely winning here. And then the most classic of classical Stafford Gambit lines is the simple bang bang. Then let's say they go right here, for example. Then we go knight g4, and we're already winning. Black's already winning, because the only move to defend the f2 pawn without actually getting forked or losing it still is bishop e3. And then you'd think we would take with bishop, because then takes, and our knight is kind of quote-unquote forking the queen and bishop. But sure, he just moves queen over here, and taking the bishop would be useless, and on the other hand, like what I'm about to explain, having the bishop there is much more powerful. So if you take with knight, and then we have the bishop on that square, they'll most likely go queen f3, then queen g5, defending the bishop, restricting white's castling rights, and leaving a lot of space for a lot of traps. Like right away, you can see that we're threatening bishop d2, which restricts his castling rights forever and ever. Gets his king like where it does not want to be, and white just doesn't want that to happen. So there's a big chance that white will try to go rook d8 with d1, trying to stop bishop d2, which they just take. But if they do go here, then we go bishop g4, which just wins it. What's it called? A rook, because the bishop is defended, and it's attacking the queen, and well, a bishop is obviously strong, or a rook is obviously stronger than a bishop. And if you haven't already, check out my video that I made a few days ago. It's about literally a blitz game where I got somebody with this exact line. Then they went queen over here. I took the rook, and they just rage quit. They just left the game. Done so, because they didn't want to go any further. So if you haven't already, check out that video. It was really juicy. So that's like the main Stafford line, and there are a lot more like deep lines that you could go into. Most of those lines are if they go bishop e2, and we go pawn h4, then they most likely castle, then knight over here, and they can take. That's an okay move, but then we just take with pawn, and yes, he does have pawn g3, but then we just have, like, black's not winning here yet, but there's a lot of potential for a lot of opening traps that white does not want to fall into. For example, we can go queen f6, and then like on the next move we're just starting this with just mates. Because if they go right here, then we can pass the pawn. And sure, now the pawn's like stopping us from fully mating, but it's still really strong. Because sure, he's gonna go right here, for example, trying to stop it, but he really can't actually fully stop it, because we go queen g6, allowing bishop g4, which then he has pawn f3, but that completely weakens his g3 pawn. So then, like, next move, we just have bishop d6, and he has ways to defend it with, like, rook on g1, for example. But now, like, just look at white's position. Look at that poor king. Look at that. Black is just a really pleasant and easy to play position.